This morning, I had a great question come in last week. And for those of you who sent questions in late or yesterday evening, I will answer those, but I'll probably answer those next week now. So I got sent a great question this week about self-sabotage. And so that is going to be the theme of our discussion this morning is, what is self-sabotage? Why do we do it? And how can we stop? So that's what we're going to be looking at. And I'll give you some tips and tools as well. Before we start, let's start with just taking a breath in together, okay? So when we connect at these levels, it's really great to just take in a breath. Whew, from the busyness of your day, of your morning, just focus in on your breathing. And as you focus in on the breath, just allow yourself to center into your heart. Just be aware of the breath coming in and going out. As we now imagine a light from the highest source, from the divine, coming down and connecting to the heart center of each one of us through a golden strand of light. So that on the highest levels, we now create a wheel of light for our own healing, for creating a higher level of consciousness, and for receiving the divine wisdom that we need and want right now. It's good to come together like this, take that breath in and connect through our hearts. And I'd like you to think about the topic today, self-sabotage. How do you notice that you self-sabotage? And I think for most of us, we all have patterns of noticing where we're wanting one thing, but we're creating something else. So really looking at what are your patterns of self-sabotage. And if you could heal that today, begin the healing process of that. What would that look like? What would that be like? What would that feel like for you? And just getting a sense of setting your intention. And when we set intentions, we set them on what it is we want. It's not like a goal. It's like, what would your life be like if self-sabotage in this particular area was no longer part of your everyday reality? And let's just hold that intention as we take a breath and bring ourselves back. So I would love to hear from a couple of you this morning about your self-sabotage patterns. You don't have to say too much, and I'm sure they will be relevant. We all do it. If you're human, you probably have some self-sabotage. I haven't met a human being yet that doesn't have some kind of self-sabotage pattern. So what's yours? Have a think about it. Now you are muted, and for this, you can just go down to the microphone on the left-hand side of the Zoom meeting and just unmute. I'd love to hear from a couple of you.
I'll share.
Megan, hi. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course. I think the first thing that came to my mind was how I desire to have intimate relationships with people, but I inadvertently push people away because it scares me to be vulnerable.
Right.
I think that's like the first thing that I thought of.
That's a brilliant one. That is a really good one. So then your intention is around how to have those intimate relationships, right? How do you do that and allow them to come close to you, right? Beautiful. Thank you so much, Megan, for sharing. Who else would like to share? Yes.
Hi, Kim.
Good morning.
Good morning. I know one of the things I do is I overthink things. I second guess myself over and over and over, and then I lose the original message.
Well, that's a good one, isn't it? So how to stop overthinking. So your self-sabotage pattern has to do with you thinking too much.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great one. Thank you. Thank you for that, Jennifer. Anybody else would like to share theirs?
I would.
Okay.
Hi, Angelica.
Hello, how are you?
How are you, my lovely?
Doing well, thank you.
Good.
Struggling with the same issue.
Well, we all
Let's
are,
not tell
right?
people how long we've known each other.
A long time.
A long time.
It's been a long time since I've seen you.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think I struggle with as far as my writing goes is I have so many opportunities, like someone like a great editor who's ready and just waiting, or someone who just is waiting for something, but the follow through, it feels overwhelming sometimes, and they forget about me because it's just like silence.
Right. So on one level, there's something that's inhibiting you from being able to follow through with it.
Yeah.
And accept the amazing gifts that you're being offered right now.
Exactly.
That's such a good one. Thank you, Angelica.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that. That's brilliant. Anybody else want to share theirs?
Yes.
I have one more. Thank you.
Hi,
Rhonda.
hello, how are you? Mine is very much along the same line. I will have a vision or a thought, idea, and I am thrilled about it, and then before you know it, I'm second guessing myself out of it, or thinking of a different way to make it happen that's not as risky. And so I realized that first thought is spirit, second thought is self-sabotage, I think.
It's sounding like it. It sounded very like it. So well done for getting clear on that. So for everybody, if I haven't had a chance to hear from you, I'd love you to just write down your ideas and thoughts. Vanessa, I see that you came up just then. Did you have one you wanted to share?
I don't have one right now, sorry.
Okay, no, it's all right. It's all right. So have a think about what is your self-sabotage pattern, right? Now, I hear self-sabotage a lot, and I hear it a lot, actually, Angelica, with writing and relationships. And in fact, we do it everywhere. Finances, relationships, self-improvement, eating patterns, all sorts of things. So how do we actually move beyond that? How do we begin to look at, okay, well, what is going on? We know we want something. We know we've set the intention. We know that we have the idea in mind. We know we have the goal in mind. And what happens then? So here's what happens is we want something. We can set the intention for it. We start to imagine it, we start to visualize it, we start to see it happening, see it starting to come to us, and then something else gets triggered within us, right? So one example that I was given by the lady who originally asked the question was she's got really great eating patterns all day, except between the hours of 5 and 6 p.m. Really precise, right? Really precise. So that one strikes me on two levels. The first level of that one is, what are you doing the rest of the time, right? So we all have times and areas where we don't self-sabotage, right? So this particular person, the rest of the day, the other 23 hours, they're doing something inside their heads that's working really well, that's allowing them to have those healthy patterns. But what is it that kicks in that starts to have an impact? And for a lot of people, it's around fear. Okay, so our fear comes up. And we've talked about fear quite a lot in these series. So the positive intention of fear is really about safety. So if you've had relationships where people have come close to you and you have been hurt by them, then a part of you buried deep within you is going to say, that's not safe for me, right? That's not safe. People coming close to me is going to hurt me. Also, it connects with us on our identity, like, who are we? So looking at Angelica's example of writing, all of the things start to manifest and align for everything she wants. But then something kicks in, and that will usually be a limiting belief nestled around identity. So who are you? Who are you believing that you are? And that's going to take a shift in the belief system. How do we begin to change those beliefs that no longer support us? So before we go directly there, everybody has a self-sabotage pattern, right, that we're working with. I want you to just be aware of it. Just be aware of how it plays out in your mind right now. Okay, see yourself doing it. See what you want and see the sabotage. And with the sabotage, I want you to notice there's a feeling that goes along with that. There's a feeling that happens within the sabotage. So the lady that asked me the question about eating between 5 and 6, what is the feeling that's coming up just before you take the action that is sabotaging? So what's that feeling? Now I encourage you, all of you right now, to just notice, where is the saboteur within you? And take your hand and just put it where you feel that. So where do you feel it? For some of you it will be in your heart, for some of you it will be in your gut, for some of you it's in your head. And I'm going to take you through an exercise right now. Now, with that saboteur, just say to it, thank you for being here. And I know it sounds a little odd and a little strange, right? We've been battling these parts of us inside for so long that to thank it feels contrary, doesn't it? But just thank it. Thank you. Now think about it. This pattern is so strong that it actually stops you moving towards what you want. It must have something really, really useful that it's trying to do for you right now. So thank it. And ask it, tell it, I will not harm you. I want to understand you. I will not harm you. These words are really important. I will not harm you. I want to understand you. So please tell me, what is it you want for me? What is the positive intention that you are wanting to create for me? And then listen. You don't have to agree with it, but listen to it. It has been trying to get your attention desperately. So what is the positive intention? And I find that almost every aspect of you has a positive intention that it's trying to achieve. You may not like its methods, and you may not like what it's trying to do, right? You may not like the way it's doing it, but it does have a positive intention. So acknowledging that is essential. So thank you. Whether it's trying to keep you safe, whether it's trying to protect you, whether it's trying to not put you into a place where you may be vulnerable or perceived that you may be vulnerable. Thank you. And if you've got a piece of paper there, let's just take a moment to write down what you got. What's the message? What's the positive intention? And let's hear from a couple of you. Anybody want to share their positive intention? So you just need to unmute and share. Sandy, was that you? Did you want to share?
Yes, that's me.
Okay, my lovely. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, it's when I get together with my 4 sisters, and it's protection.
Okay, brilliant. Now,
I do.
It's
I
really
find myself just putting up, and they think I'm sometimes snotty. They think I'm too good for them. And I mean, and it's basically, I've been in lots of situations with them over the years, and it's protection.
right. Brilliant. And you want to be safe. So protection is about safety. So really honor and thank that part of you for wanting
And
to.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, we don't. We tend to just go into self-attacking.
Yes, you're right.
Beating ourselves up. But actually, if we can go to the positive intention and have that gentle grace with ourselves, then we're a lot more likely to be able to listen to the wisdom and navigate through it. So thank you, Sandy, for sharing. Anybody else want to share theirs? You just need to unmute yourself. I'd love to hear from a couple of you.
Hi, Kim, it's Peggy.
Hi, Peggy, my lovely.
My defect is around the eating.
Okay.
Around eating in the time that the self-sabotage. And I think it's, I have a need to be nurtured.
Yes.
And nurtured. And, so I don't know what the positive intention would be around that, but.
Being nurtured.
Okay.
Okay, so that is the positive intention, is being nurtured. Now, there are lots of different ways of nurturing ourselves, right? So getting the positive intention and saying thank you to it, thank you that I need nurturing. Now you can ask that part of you, are there other ways that you can help me to nurture myself? How else can I nurture myself? So Peggy, when you do that, what comes into your mind?
Hugging.
Hugging.
I need hugging.
Yes.
And to hug.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, do you have people around you that you can hug right now?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So hug them. For those of you who don't, I want to give you a little alternative because I know some people are on their own right now. And so you can just take your arms, cross them around yourself and literally give yourself a hug right now. Okay. Now, this really helps, especially if your issue is around safety, right? So hug yourself and then just a tap on one shoulder and a tap on the other shoulder. Now this comes from EMDR and it's really centering and really healing, and it can really bring you into your body and connect you. So just a gentle tapping, like you're giving yourself a hug. You feel yourself in your body. Here you are. You're safe in this moment. You can do it both hands at the same time. But see what feels the most nurturing to you. So hugging is one of them. Right? And there will be others, Peggy. So I would actually encourage you to continue to explore that. So for all of you, looking at what is the positive intention, and once you've got that, then you know how to proceed. You know how to move forward with the positive intention. So if we go to Megan's one about relationships and allowing people to come close, and being vulnerable and having those intimate relationships, right? For Megan, it sounds to me like it's around safety. And Megan, you'll have to confirm that, but it sounds like it's around safety. So the question then becomes, how can I have intimate relationships and be safe, right? And Halika, same kind of thing. How can you put yourself out there with your writing? How can you be seen and be safe, or whatever your positive intention is? So once we have the positive intention of what we're calling the saboteur, then we can start to move forward, right? So another way of saying this is that it's like two parts of us are in conflict, and it sometimes is more than two parts of us. but two parts are usually in conflict. So we have, on the one hand, we want to eat healthy, and on the other hand, between 5 and 6, we don't. So it's how do you eat healthy and be nurtured? How do you be healthy and be safe? Like if food is your reward system, and for a lot of us it is, right? A lot of us, we were given a treat as a kid, you know, an ice cream or a chocolate that was a treat. So look at things like that. That pattern will be playing through. You are trying to just nurture yourself. So instead of beating yourself up about it, look for alternative ways. Thank and honor that part of you and look for alternative ways. And then last of all, it can have to do with beliefs, like I said. So have a look. Last week we were talking about beliefs, and we talked a little bit about how to begin to shift those beliefs and look for new evidence. So you could actually start to do this now with these. So for Peggy, look for ways in which you're being nurtured and keep a note of them. So, you know, often, I mean, we are unconscious much of the time. Right? We're unconscious, according to the scientists now, at best, if we're trying our best to be conscious, we are still unconscious about 95% of the time. So what does that mean? That means that 95% of the time, and it's more for some people, we are being driven by our subconscious programs and our subconscious patterns. So you can find that you've got these behaviors that, yes, cause conflict within you, and you call them self-sabotaging, but really it's coming from a program, an early program. And as you work through and as you begin to find the positive intention, you can start to change your behavior. And when you start to change your behavior and you start to look for different results, you look for the evidence of how you're safe, you look for the evidence of how you're nurtured, you look for the evidence of how you're rewarded. As you start to do that, what happens is you start to program the subconscious mind, and that belief system gets an upgrade. Okay? So look for the evidence and keep a note of it. It's amazing how much we forget. Or I do anyway. So I have a little journal where I keep, it's my evidence journal, and whatever issue that I'm working on, I have that evidence journal and I write down signs. I write down signs that I see, and I write down evidence that my perception and my reality is now shifting. And that really strengthens it. It programs the reticular activating system, and it begins to shift that belief, because all beliefs are formed on evidence. Okay, so any questions that anybody wants to ask right now? I have a couple of minutes of questions. Okay, I'm guessing not. So let's go through it again. So, Angelica, did you
one
have
question? I was just going to think, in the example that I'm providing, it just came to me that because my fear is the content that I'm writing is kind of raw and it's vulnerable.
Yeah.
But I just thought, well, I was thinking I can like sign it off anonymous, but
Yes.
then that would give me certain freedom, but at the same time, maybe that's not what I want, but maybe a pseudonym, I was thinking, like, so that I can have just a layer of protection.
That's right.
So that I'm not right there.
Yes.
So I never thought of that until
brilliant.
So thank you.
Brilliant. That is wonderful. So yeah,
I will be Kim Vincent.
Well, I would do that, but you've got another pseudonym, right?
Yes, thank you.
So really, it is about safety. Like once we get that and accept it, like the answers start popping, right? Which is awesome. Thank you, Angelica, for sharing that. Brilliant. So any self-sabotage pattern, be aware of the pattern first of all. Thank it. Number one, thank you. And ask it and tell it Secondly, I will not harm you. That is really important. You've been battling it on some level and some degree for probably quite a long time for some of you. So I will not harm you. I want to understand you. Then it gives that part of you permission to go, okay, now it's safe. I can actually deliver the message of what it is I'm trying to create for you. And you begin to work in harmony with that part and that aspect of you. And then new ways will come in which, so you can have the goal that you want, whether it's your writing, whether it's intimate relationships, whether it's eating patterns, whether it's health and exercise, whatever it is, with the positive intention of the other part. Now those two parts are now in agreement and start to move forward. And new ways will come to you. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful for you. I want to let you know that in the next few weeks, I have been working away here, and I've created a series, which will be an online webinar, to help people break through anxiety and fear. So that's coming up in a few weeks' time, and I will let you know about that. And then the other thing that's also coming up in a few weeks' time, from a questionnaire I did, a lot of people were saying, hey, we'd love some group coaching. So in a few weeks' time, I will be opening that up, and it will be very limited. So I'm only going to do it with a small amount of people. So if you're interested in that, let me know. But I'm going to start that ball rolling and see, you know, if that's useful for you. So keep your questions coming in. I love them. And we'll also do the guided meditation and distant healing on Thursday if you want to join us. And I'm just so grateful that we all have the opportunity now to get together and connect like this and bring healing to ourselves and bring healing to our friends and our families and our communities. And most of all, we're creating a different consciousness. Right, that higher consciousness. So let's imagine that world that we want to belong to, where there's love and there's peace and healing, and we are all operating at our best. So thank you so much for joining me today. Have a beautiful, beautiful week. Thank you all.